All right, prop the mic, presented by Props.cash. It's your boy Tom on a beautiful early autumn morn here in Los Angeles. Dave is back home in New York after spending some time in Connecticut over the weekend. I know
Yes,
you.
sir.
I know you had a long day and what I hope was a late night at the tables at Mohegan Sun after sitting courtside for the Liberty's series clinching win over the Sun. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good.
Yeah,
Had a lot of fun yesterday. Mohegan Sun is an amazing place. They
yes, it
they got
is.
the great sports book there. They got the arena there for concerts, games, and of course you could gamble a little bit. So it was
A
fun.
little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. We had a good time. So
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, I was watching all of our picks yesterday. Some hit, some didn't. But some of the ones we love the most definitely cashed early. So I love that. And then tonight we got Monday Night Football, right?
Yeah. Monday Night Football, hometown New York Giants, in back-to-back games in MetLife Stadium, right?
Yeah.
I think all the Swifties have gone home though, so that's good.
That whole thing is gonna fizzle out real soon, I think. Right?
Yeah,
It's like 2 weeks is enough of that.
I think
You know
so.
I'm a Chiefs fan, but I'm
I
done
don't
with
want to hear
that.
it.
So.
I can't. I'm there to watch football last night. Like
Right.
and luckily because it turned into a game. Like if it had just been a Chiefs blowout, that's like I wouldn't have been watching anyway. I would have turned it off. But that's all you would have heard about during the whole broadcast. But luckily we got a decent game, especially if you're a Jets fan. It was some positive signs from Zach Wilson, so it was nice to hear about that and not about Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I do have to say that last play, Mahomes sliding. There were so many people, myself included, who just got totally killed by that. But
it messed up totals, it messed up spreads. It just but he did the right thing. So
he did the right thing. People are like, Vegas, is paying him off to do that. I'm like, this guy makes $50 million a year. He doesn't care about any of our bets.
No, he did the right thing to win the game. It has nothing to do with Vegas. That's what he should have done to win the game.
It's funny though. You gotta when you lose a bet, you gotta take it out on somebody else, right?
Yes.
It's not your fault, right?
So never
your fault. So all right, let's get to tonight's game. Seahawks 2-1 at the Giants 1-2. Giants are +2 at home, so home dog, and total is nice, 47 points in this game. So a little surprising, but the Seahawks have been in like some real shootouts so far, and the Giants as well. They've been in a couple games where they've either scored or given up a ton of points. So all right, what do you like here?
All right, let's start with the quarterbacks here. Against Seattle, lots of stats kind of jumping out here. They've allowed the second most attempts to opposing quarterbacks, just under 44 attempts per game. The fifth most yards per attempt, third most air yards per attempt, the most completions of 10 plus yards. They've allowed 43 completions of 10 plus yards.
Oh wow!
There's 4 teams tied at second with 36. So they're what is that? Seven more completions than the teams in second place there. If you remember from Friday's pod, Cleveland and Dallas are tied for the fewest at 14. So going from 14 up to 43, it's a huge delta there. It's a lot of completions, a lot of yards. They've also allowed the most completions of 20 plus yards. So I don't know. Do we go with the play on Danny Dimes here?
I think we have to after we faded Zach Wilson last night.
I know.
I think we got to show some respect to New York quarterbacks.
Painful.
What do you like there? You like Jones or?
Yeah, I think if I have to pick something though, I think I'll go with his pass attempts, 20.5 pass attempts, -125 on DK. I feel like that's the safest. I mean, there's all these stats saying there's going to be a lot of yardage here. I do love the number of attempts though that Seattle's giving up. They are the favorites. I think more likely than not, New York's playing from behind and needing to throw the ball instead of running the ball. So out of all of them, this is not a super strong play for me, but out of all the things you could bet on Danny Dimes, I think this 20.5 pass attempts would be my favorite.
The 20.5 is the pass completions.
Sorry, pass completions. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes.
20.5 pass attempts. We would be betting our entire life savings on that. No, I would never bet my life savings on Danny Dimes. All right, let's look at the pass completions. I really like the pass completions. I have a couple extra stats on that.
Okay.
All right, so the first week he had a 53% rate at 15 for 28, right? So threw the ball 28 times, 15 completions. So that's really terrible. That's like bottom of the league. I think the lowest in the league is like around 50%. The highest is like 74%, which goes to our guy up in Buffalo who cashed for us yesterday. But week 2 was better. Pretty good. He was 26 for 37, right? So would have cleared this
Hmm.
line, and 70% completion rate. And week 3 he was pretty good too, 22 for 32, which is a 68% completion rate. So if you average that all out, he's at about 65% completion rate, which ranks him 19th in the league, which is kind of middle of the pack. But if you look at the last 2 weeks, he's 9th in the league. So he's the top 10 quarterback in terms of completion rate. And now he's going up against a team that is going to give him, I think, significant volume of throws.
Yeah.
Especially with Saquon Barkley still out, right? You didn't even mention that, but Matt Breida, who we'll talk about in a second, only had 4 rush attempts last
Yeah.
week. So I think they're going to rely heavily on the pass, and that's really the opportunity to score on Seattle. So I love this one, 20 and a half pass completions for Jones. Let's do it.
All right. We're both on the same page. So that means you got to lock it in, right?
Lock it in. All right. What else? What about on the other side of the ball? You like anything for the former Giant, Geno?
Former Giant and Jet.
And Jet,
Yeah. This is, I don't know, I have to look up, see how he's done coming back to MetLife Stadium over the past few years. But Giants do have a good pass rush, 5th best pass rush win rate, 11th shortest average pocket time, and the 8th fewest attempts allowed to opposing quarterbacks. So I think you have a potential fade spot for Geno here. His line's 250 and a half passing yards, minus 115 on DK. I don't love it. I don't think it's a home run play. I should have prefaced this by saying, I look at the full slate of games, in one shot, including Thursday's, last week's Thursday game and Monday's game, and
Right.
see where the best matchups are. This game didn't even make a blip on the radar. So if this game happened yesterday, we probably wouldn't even have talked about this game. So that's the level of strength of these plays in general, right? So just tread lightly. But I think you do have a decent matchup. I wish this line was a little bit higher than 250. The 250 scares me a little bit with Geno, but based on the Giants' pass rush success and whatnot, I think you have a decent play for an under here.
Yeah. I think it's the right side to play if you're going to play his pass yards. I think under is better. Brock Purdy put up 310 against the Giants. Dobbs, who's
I know.
I would not really. I mean, well, he's looking better these days, but 228, and Prescott in that blowout put up only 143 yards. So I think that's probably the right play. They did play last year, to your earlier question, and it looks like this one was in Seattle, and he went under it with 212. So that's a lean for me as well, but not an official play.
Yeah. All right.
What else do you like?
All right. This was my favorite matchup of the day. It's looking like a giant fade on the Giants run game here. Seattle has the 7th best run stop win rate and the 10th best yards before contact. So these are 2 stats that I love to look at together. It's a great combo because it's indicative of how much penetration the defensive line is getting. So, the lower the yards before contact means that they're not even getting out of the pocket there. The whole defensive line is just pushing in, and it just limits the amount of yards that these running backs can get. They're third. They have the 3rd best yards per attempt at only 2.6, 6th best yards after contact, the 2nd most tackles for loss. I think there's 11 tackles for loss, which I like because it gets some negative yardage there, and the 6th fewest rushes of 10 plus yards. So I think going under Matt Breida, 47 and a half rushing yards is minus 114 on FanDuel. I think this line, I locked this in yesterday at that line. I think it's come down since then.
Yeah. DraftKings, you can get it for 44 and a half, and that's come down even in the last hour. An hour ago, that was 46 and a half. So definitely everybody's jumping on this one.
Yeah. So I think at FanDuel, it's down to 44 and a half.
43 and a half, yeah.
43 and a half, yeah. So this was at 47 and a half yesterday afternoon on FanDuel. You still like it at the 44, 43?
Yeah, I mean, he averages 4 yards per attempt, right? And he got 4 attempts last week. He had a perfect split with the other backup running back, Brightwell, I think his name, for the Giants, who also had 4 attempts on 5 carries. So I think they're just going to continue to run the ball maybe 10 times, 12 times this game or something like that.
Yeah.
I also, from a game script standpoint, I could see Seattle being up early in this game. And I think, this is almost like, it's almost like you should just parlay this with the Jones pass completions, because they're almost like the same play from a game script standpoint. You know what I mean? I think the Giants are just going to be throwing most of the game. So I like this. Just another way to kind of approach it would also be rush plus receiving.
Mhm.
If you want to bump that line up a little bit more, not available on all the books, but BetMGM has it 64.5. Caesars has it at 62.5. Again, he only had 18 rush plus receiving. I think he was only targeted. Let's see. Yeah, he was only targeted 3 times. So
I
I
would
think that's
just,
also
yeah, I would just note Seattle has allowed the second most targets to running backs at 25.
okay.
So just something to note. But interestingly, only 16 receptions, which is a 64% completion percentage, which is not good. So this is like the complete opposite of Denver, who I think allowed it was 22 receptions on 24 attempts.
Right.
This is it's only 16 on 25, so not a good percentage. Did you look at Danny Dimes' rushing yards at all?
I did. I didn't love it.
I'm
mean,
not. It's not. Yeah, me neither. I was curious if it was something you were on based on like this matchup with the Seattle rush defense.
it's actually the first thing I look at every time we do a show. The first stat I
Quarterback
pull,
rushing.
quarterback rush. It's my favorite prop. Especially if it's like, Mahomes yesterday at 16.5. It's like,
Yeah,
you can just knock that out in like the first quarter. I love that so much.
yeah.
Speaking of which, a little tangent. I sent this to you during the game, but FanDuel had a live prop yesterday for Brock Purdy
Oh yeah.
at negative half a yard. It was like in the middle of the game. I think it was at
Mhm.
halftime.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what he finished with?
I
I'm gonna look it
don't
up.
know. We got it. Now we got to find out.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was
I
funny because they were up, so they were anticipating, and he had 0 rush yards, so they were anticipating he was just going to kneel a couple times at the end of the game. He finished with 2 carries for 0 yards, so you could have actually won an over
on 0 yards.
on 0 yards.
That's amazing. That is
So
amazing.
I'm gonna have to. I should have sent that one out. Maybe I'll put that in a post later. All right, cool. Let's talk about finish up the running back discussion. You like anything for Kenneth Walker today?
I didn't land on anything for him. A couple stats from the Giants defense here. They've allowed the 7th fewest yards per attempt, 4th fewest yards after contact, and they're actually tied with Seattle for second most tackles for a loss. Also at 11. So no, I didn't end up on anything for him. What about you?
Yeah, I mean the Giants are giving up a lot of rush yards per game, but they've gone up against really good running backs so far. McCaffrey had 85 yards, Connor had 106, Pollard 70. He's what I liked was, he's crossed in 2 of 3, I think it was, or it depends where you got the line. The line was like 62.5 or something at one point, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The yard scares me a little bit, but I do kind of like the rushing attempts. You can get that at 14.5 on DraftKings. So, and I think that fits
as well. Yeah.
I think that fits into the game script. And if you look, what I liked about this was the game against the Rams. He only had 12 carries, right? First game of the season, but they lost that game 30-13, right? So they were behind for most of the second half, and that's why he didn't get a lot of carries. Actually, let's prove that. I don't know why that. Oh, it's not showing me the splits for first and second half. So we'll have to look that up. But then the next 2 games they've won. They won that 37-31 against Detroit and 37-27 against Carolina. So those were games where they were leading most of the game. So I think that'll be the situation again tonight. I think he gets 15 to 16 carries. So get that at 14.5 on DraftKings. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's the way to play it. Here, I like that.
All right. Wide receivers, anything there?
Hang on. Yeah, let me wide receivers. Yeah, so I just have on tight ends. We'll group these together, tight ends and receivers?
Yeah. They're players that catch the ball.
Yeah, here we go. We're not having a separate tight end segment.
No.
All right, so tight ends against Seattle. I mentioned this briefly when I was talking about Indianapolis on the Friday pod. Seattle allows the most yards per reception to tight ends at 14, the second most yards before catch, and the 8th most yards after catch. Always bring this up because this should be inversely related. So when you're high on both of them, that's always something to note. They've allowed the most yards after contact, which means they just can't get these tight ends down. Second in average long, and 4th in catches of 10 plus yards. So let's go with Mr. Darren Waller, over 46.5 receiving yards, minus 125. His snap share percentage trending up nicely. Started out the season with only 54% of the offensive snaps, up to 90, and then 82 in weeks 2 and 3. So I think this is a nice spot for Waller here.
Yeah, I mean, I know obviously San Fran's probably pretty good at defending the tight end.
Yes.
And Dallas, that was just a mess of a game. So really, Arizona's kind of the picture of what this guy is capable of. Seems like a good matchup. Doesn't seem like he's really figured out his place in the offense yet, but hopefully he gets it going. Even if you just look at the props, though, like what's available for the Giants receiving, it's Slayton, Hodgins, and Waller, right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of like a top 1 or 2 receiver for them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be props on Robinson. I would imagine at some point today.
Yeah.
I think he looked pretty good last game. But yeah, that's why I think you've seen that snap percentage increase. Like, there's not a lot of offensive weapons here, and I think this is a good get right spot for him against. They faced, like you said, that weird. Good Dallas defense in a weird blowout game in week 1, and then, San Francisco in week 3. So I think, like you said, week 2 was much more indicative of the type of performance you could see from Darren Waller tonight.
Definitely. What about on the Seattle side? Do you like any tight ends, receivers, anything?
I didn't have anything. That was everything I have for this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Metcalf is in a pretty good spot here. Obviously, we just talked about Geno not particularly going to have a big passing game, but I don't know. I like Metcalf. I like his receiving yards. I like his receptions even better at 4.5. If you look all the way back to last year, I mean, he's a 5 to 6 reception kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's playing really well. The problem is the value. You're getting that at minus 170. So
yeah, those receptions are tough.
But I think that's a really good leg of a parlay. So if you like something else on the show, or you want to take like another pick and discount it, like Jones 19.5 or 18.5 pass completions, and then throw it with Metcalf 4.5 receptions, I think that's also a good way of playing this one.
Yeah, I always, for some reason, it may not make sense on paper or whatever it is. I just feel like I never get Metcalf and Lockett right. I feel like if I bet on Metcalf, it's like the Tyler Lockett game. So I don't know. I have a hard time betting on Seattle receivers because I don't know. I just sometimes you just have those teams and those two that you can't figure out, and these two happen to be that for me. So I'm staying away.
All right, you stay away. All right, we're gonna save the best for last.
Okay, what is it?
All right, we don't often talk about these guys, but they call it football for a reason. Let's talk about.
You're looking at kickers.
let's talk about kickers. Jason Myers. Don't really know a whole lot about Jason Myers, but I just like the trend. Most of these books have kicking points, kicking field goals, and then PATs. Those are kind of your 3 options. Myers looks like he had 5 field goals last week, 2 week 1. And 1 week 2. So I think field goals is probably decent, especially in a 47-point game. But his kicking points looks pretty solid, right? 6.5 kicking points. You're talking about probably 2 field goals and a couple and an extra point, or a field goal and 4 extra points. I think those are probably the 2 ways you can get this. I like it at 6.5. I think he's probably going to nail 2 field goals today. So either way you like it, you can do this one. 6.5, or you can do the 2 field goals at 1.5. There's probably more value on the field goals because he's probably going to need 2 field goals to get 7 points anyway.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of like a pivot off fading Geno's yardage, like in a way, right? I feel like I don't love that play, but I feel like the Giants will be good enough to like kind of limit their touchdown scoring and perhaps lead to more field goals. So I actually really really like this play. Especially in these Monday night games, I just feel like I don't know. This is my pivot off not loving that Geno Smith under. I think this is the way to go. Great job, Dave.
I wish he was home. That would be even better. But no, he's. I mean, look at the consistency around that. 15 for his last 19, 3 for 3 this year. So you just got to search a little bit. FanDuel has the kicking points. So does Caesars and BetMGM, and then the field goals are available at Caesars and BetMGM only. So
DK doesn't get involved in kicking props.
I thought they did, but I don't see them here. So I'm gonna have to dig into that after the show and see if there's better value there, or maybe it's only available as the same game parlay or something like that. So But anyway, I actually think sometimes you need to like look at the props that other people aren't looking at, right? Nobody really likes betting kicker props, but there's probably
Yeah.
more opportunity in those markets because of there's less eyeballs on it, and
Yeah.
the line probably stays more consistent throughout the day. So I think we'll try it out this week and see if it might be a new segment to the show.
Yeah, I see a lot of people on these. See a lot of people getting on tackle and assist props, which I know nothing about, and are not super interesting. But I would imagine that people are jumping on them because of an inefficiency in the market, and they're probably getting some good value there. So don't know if we're going to get there, but I think we can add a nice kicking segment. That sounds like a good idea. So I think we'll get a pick or two up on X this afternoon for this game. I have a feeling we're going to we'll circle the wagons after this. I have a nice little idea that I'm going to run by you. We can surprise our followers with. Yeah. So stay tuned, and we'll lock these in, and let's all make some money tonight.
Let's go.